Chattanooga-based trucking company Covenant Transport gets fined $700,000 by the Department of Justice, and there is no outrage. Let's discuss this. So the Chattanooga-based trucking company Covenant Transport gets fined $700,000 by the Department of Justice. I took some notes down and I pulled up some articles here. I'm outraged. I am really, really outraged by this. And I started digging in and trying to figure out what's going on. And it's very obvious who is behind this, what their agenda is, where this is coming from. Folks, I have been in truck driving for over 20 years. I have worked for multiple different trucking companies. In my 20 years of driving and working for companies and being an owner-operator, the rules have changed, and not for the better. Starting with Bill Clinton, this agenda started snowballing. Bill Clinton based a federal agency, the Federal Motor Carriers Safety Administration. You've got to add in that word safety, because that brings up a whole new perspective to what the agency is built upon. It is what it's about, right? Is safety, right? It was based on a lie. And I have the facts to show that it was based on a lie. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration was built upon a lie. Bill Clinton and his band of Democrats started the Federal Motor Carriers Safety Administration about the time that I got into truck driving. And it was based on the fact that truck wrecks were major truck wrecks and commercial truck wrecks were on the rise. I have got a chart to show you right here that proves that that was based on a lie. Truck wrecks, as you can see, from 1975 down was decreasing. They had continually fallen all the way down until about 2015. And in 2015, they started going up. You will see a slight dip here about 2008. And what that was in 2008 was the credit crunch, I guess is what you call it. The little somewhat of a depression that we had under George W. Bush. If you guys remember, fuel shot up to $5 a gallon during that period. A lot of owner-operators went out of business. George W. was a rhino. Of course, he followed in line with the Democrats and everything that they wanted to do. And Dick Cheney basically destroyed everything about fuel and prices and everything because he was the CEO of Halliburton, along with being vice president, which was a conflict of interest. But they let him slide because he had an agenda, and they followed through with their agenda that they were going through at the time. But anyway, besides that, during the period here about 2015, you will see an uptick in truck wrecks. You will see an uptick in the amount of truck wrecks that are happening. Why? Well, I originally thought that it was because of the ELD mandate. I got to digging into it a little bit more, and I found some very disturbing things that goes along with this covenant story. If you will remember, in 2015, I will put up a link to, I will put up a screenshot here of the article that I read this off of. 2015, you had Obama in office, and he was saying that he was wanting to let in Syrian refugees. Well, Syrian refugees were not the only country that was being allowed into the United States. It was also other countries from the Middle East. The original number that they came up with was around 65,000 refugees. That number supposedly went above 100,000 refugees, and they were not just from Syria. Here's the catch to this, though. In this announcement, you had opposing sides that were looking at it. Senator Richard Durbin, a Democrat of Illinois, wrote in a letter along with 14 other Democrats urging Mr. Obama to take an additional 65,000 Syrian refugees onto the pledge of taking 10,000 next year as a step in the right direction. I think the number has to be higher, but as I mentioned, we have a process. We have to be careful that each one of them is vetted so there is no threat, Mr. Durbin said, quote unquote. I highly doubt it. I remember the news articles and everything that was being strewn around at the time, and they said that there was no way to possibly vet these people that were coming in from other countries because many of the countries, their records had been destroyed by war, fire, other things. There was no DNA test. There was no fingerprint program. There was nothing. A person could come in and state their name, and it might not even be their name. It might be their brother's name or a relative's name. And there was no way the U.S. could vet it. They just basically had to take the refugees' word for who they were and let them into the country. Once they got here, where did they go? What did they do? Well, the U.S. government, of course, gave them money to come into the United States. Of course, probably gave them housing, food stamps, a food allowance of some sort in order for them to get into the United States and get acclimated to the United States. Well, here's the thing that is weird about this whole thing to me is there was another Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut said there were risks in doing nothing. Do we think we make this country more or less safe from terrorism by showing a cold-heartedness to this refugee crisis? He asked. I think the answer is no. On Wednesday, this was back in 2015, Secretary of State John Kerry said in a closed-door meeting on Capitol Hill that the total number of refugees taken in by the United States could rise to more than 100,000 from the current figure of 70,000. See, they've already got their numbers mixed up because supposedly it was 10,000, then it went to 65,000. Now John Kerry is stating 70,000, upwards of 100,000. Nobody really knows how many refugees came in. Nobody knows really where they came from. They were not vetted. You have to think their legal status is not the same as the United States legal status. You don't go to the Department of Human Services in Syria and talk to people over there about their citizens. You don't talk to the Department of Justice in these countries because it doesn't exist. These people are just being let in and let in and let in. And who even knows who they are? I even remember back then people claiming that there was people on the terrorist watch list being let in and nobody even knew about it. Here's something that I found very interesting when I read this. Senator Jeff Sessions, a Republican of Alabama and the chairman of the Immigration Subcommittee of the House Judiciary Committee, said the United States needed to help refugees return to their homes as quickly as possible. I do not favor every war zone turning into hundreds of thousands, even millions of refugees that flee the country to go to other countries that otherwise they wouldn't meet the immigration standards, quote unquote. That is a Republican. They were supposed to go back. They were refugees. That means they are supposed to be held here for a limited amount of time, not to be citizens of the United States. They're refugees. They're basically here on a green card. They're here on a temporary basis until their country can get over this war-torn situation that it's in, and then they get sent back. As we know from the past, that once immigrants get into the United States, whether they're here legally or illegally, they want to stay. And they want to stay permanently. The other problem with this is they want to stay here permanently and take American citizens' jobs and then take the money that they are working for, that they are obtaining through work, and send it back to their country. Our U.S. government also is sending these countries money. If you remember Barack Obama loading the plane up, going to Iran, nobody ever knew how much money was ever sent over there. It was millions, billions. Some people say it was upwards of $1 trillion. No one really knew how much money was sent to Iran. Iran is a country that walks in the streets and chants death to America. And Obama sent them thousands, millions, billions. Some people say upwards of $1 trillion U.S. cash dollars over there. They were putting the money on pallets on the plane and sending it over there. Now you have these refugees over here that have been here since 2015, and they don't want to go home. And to be honest, I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to go home either. I wouldn't want to go back to their home. If I lived there, I wouldn't want to go back home. After seeing what the United States is, why would you want to go back there? Why would you want to? Look, folks, I'm not anti-legal immigration. We all came here from somewhere. Every one of us. I think the only ones that are naturalized citizens are probably the Native American Indians. Everyone else that came here from some other countries. But here's the thing, we have laws in this country that we have to follow. Just like what is going on here with Covenant Transport. Covenant Transport was wrong for just paying this fine, saying that we will do better and let's move along. They should have fought this for everything they should have fought it, could have fought it with. They should have fought it. And the reason why is because if they just lay down and play dead and let the Department of Justice steamroll over them, then the next thing is they're going to say, well, everyone has to hire illegal aliens. They don't have to show documents. They can show whatever they want to. Here's the problem with that. Of all the trucking companies I've worked for, I had to prove that I had a current CDL. I had to prove that I was a legal citizen. I had to prove that I had a driver's license. I had to prove that I had experience, that I went to a trucking school, or whatever the case may be. So you're telling me that these refugees that are not even supposed to be long-term citizens of the United States are allowed to stay here with no papers? And that's okay? And they're allowed to be on the roads? And that's okay? Whenever you look at this chart, the proof is there. In 2015, 2016, by a combination of things that happened, illegal citizens being granted permission to drive on the United States interstate system and highway system are allowed to do so without documentation. And you see the increase in the truck wrecks. Look at it. They're going up. This all plays into the fact that the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration was based on a lie. They said truck wrecks were going up. Truck wrecks were going down. They started CSA. They started all of these rules and regulations. They were letting the illegal non-documented refugees, as they call them, into the United States. And the safety of U.S. citizens, of the general public, is worse off now because of it. Where is the outrage? Where is the Tennessee Trucking Association in this? You don't hear anything from them. They're radio silent. Where is the American Trucking Association? You don't hear anything from them. They're radio silent. Where is Marsha Blackburn? She is a Republican senator from the state of Tennessee. Where is her outrage? She's a Republican. They sit on their hands and do nothing and let this steamroll over. Where is Bill Hagerty? He is a Republican senator from the state of Tennessee. Radio silent. I haven't heard a word out of him from this. Where is Governor Bill Lee? Republican governor from the state of Tennessee. Where is his outrage? Where is he at condemning this? Don't hear a thing about it. Where is the Tennessee DOT? You know, the Tennessee DOT that is so hard on us at the weigh scales, and they're okay with illegal truck drivers coming through their weigh scales? Really? Really, the Department of Tennessee? The DOT, the Department of Transportation in Tennessee, is allowing these people to come through their weigh scale. I asked a truck driver friend of mine this the other day. If we're all under the rules and the regulations, what happens when an illegal, undocumented person comes through a weigh scale? Let's pick Tennessee, for example. They are pulled over for an inspection and they can't speak English. All of us have been through this to where we have to go through our lights, our brakes, check everything in our truck to make sure that it is DOT compliant while the officer is giving us orders. How does that work when you can't speak English? How is the messages conveyed from that safety officer to the driver of that commercial vehicle when the driver cannot speak English? How does that work? The friend of mine I was talking to about it said, it's simple. When they come up and they see that they can't speak English and they see that there is no communication there, they just write something up and move along. Folks, it is getting stupid. It is absolutely getting stupid what is going on in this country. We have to have law and order in this country. This is why Trump is so popular with his America First initiative. Folks, it's just common sense. I tell this to all my friends. I talk about this all the time when I'm on the phone with my friends, most of whom are truck drivers. What is going to happen in this country when there is no laws, or when only certain laws are obeyed? What's going to happen? You saw a couple of videos that I put out recently about Memphis, Tennessee. I'm wanting to do a longer video about Memphis, Tennessee and what's going on over there. It's the same thing that is going on with this Chattanooga trucking company. The same thing. It is rules for thee, not for me. That is the Democratic way. And this is all falling apart. It is making the United States a less safe place for people that want to follow the rules, because the Democrats are bringing in people that don't care about the rules. A lot of them don't even know what the rules are. They don't even want to learn the language. And the DOT don't care if they know the language. It is a sad state of affairs, and Covenant, you were definitely wrong for just paying this and rolling over and playing dead. You were so wrong for doing that. You should have fought for it. Thanks for watching Trucking and Politics.